What's happening? NoZoupForYou here, and before I dive into talking about Tier 8, I want to touch briefly on the video about power creep at Tier 9 and Tier 10. I know I brought up multiple different topics during that video. I wish I could have spent a little more time clarifying some things, but I didn't want to drone on for 45 minutes, which I easily could have done about the topic. That would have bored you, and it would have bored me. I do, however, want to offer a few brief thoughts on some of the things I talked about and present the other side to the issue. The premiums at Tier 9 and 10 are still accessible to everyone in a free-to-play format. That's something important to recognize. All players can get them, though you do need to accomplish things like ranking out or playing in clan battles. Not all players have the time to do that. I get that, but there's at least an avenue for non-paying players to get these ships. The second thing to recognize is that while these premium ships are leaning on the strong side, the ships at Tier 10 are still highly viable. That's the tech tree ships. While ships at Tier 9 might lose a little luster in the face of these uber premiums like the Alsace and any other cruiser needed to compete with the Kronstadt, Tier 10 boasts some extremely robust ships. No one can say that the Zhao or Des Moines or any other ship at Tier 10's hurting per se, as a result of Tier 9 and Tier 10 premium ships being introduced. So while a ship like Kronstadt or Stalingrad might force a shift in the gameplay of a particular round, causing more ships to focus on it than would be necessary for a tech tree Tier 9 or 10 tier cruiser, it's not causing massive shifts in the meta, maybe intra-game meta shifts, if you can understand the concept I'm trying to socialize. The concern with these premiums is having more to do with clan wars, which I didn't touch on, and how facing a team of 4 or 5 Stalingrads is going to pan out for a team with none. Time will tell on that. Alright, now let's shift gears. I think a much larger issue is at hand. This is even bigger than power creep in premiums, or naturally occurring power creep in the tech trees. Interesting, right? Man-made power creep and naturally occurring power creep. Almost sounds like climatology there, but I'm definitely not touching that. I mentioned that at Tier 9, ships might lose a little luster as a result of the uber premiums. Tier 9 has always had less than desirable ships. Not all of Tier 9's bad though. While you have your Izumo and Iowas, you also have your Fletchers, your St. Louises, and Alsaces. The tier is a mix of ships good and bad. And of course, all views are player dependent. You have some Izumo lovers out there. I even played her well, but I'm an oddball either way. So while the grind in many Tier 9 ships can suck, for lack of a better word, the issue truly isn't at Tier 9. Tier 9's coping with these premiums and everything else. Tier 8 is where the problem lies. Matchmaking is killing Tier 8 in a major way. You've probably seen a post recently, and perhaps you may not have, in which it broke down how often a Tier 8 ship gets placed in a Tier 10 match. Roughly, of course. It wound up being close to 50 or 60% of the time being played in Tier 10 rounds, around 20 to 30% in Tier 9 rounds, and just a scant minority as top tiered at Tier 8. This problem transcends any issues we may perceive there to be with powerful premiums. It could be a potential showstopper for some players. I know many that stop the grind because Tier 8 just isn't that fun, and can be extremely bad depending on what line you decide to grind. Players like a fair chance, and if not a fair chance, at the very least a fighting chance. What chance does a Bismarck have going up against a Des Moines, or a Yami, or both at the same time, or with other Tier 10 ships? What chance do any Tier 8 battleships or cruisers really have when they wind up as that 1 or 2 Tier 8s in a sea of Tier 9s and Tier 10s? And what about carriers? Sure, the Graf Zeppelin can hold its own. What about the poor non-premium tech tree carrier that gets pulled into a Tier 10 match? RIP? Maybe if Stealth Iron was still around, it wouldn't be so bad. But this is radar land, baby. One small mistake and 16-inch shells can delete you in an instant. Tier 8 players need to play on their feet in hyper-vigilance, and even doing that might not be enough. So what's the fun in that? And what's the payoff? You tell me I gotta slog through the Amagi, getting my rear kicked in to play the Izumo? Where's the bloody justice in that? As much as I'd love to see a fix, the problem is I don't know how we get one. Wargaming wants to keep queue times as fast as possible. I like fast queue times. So this is the question I pose to you. How do we fix the Tier 8 problem? What would you like to see? Are you willing to wait just a little bit longer if we get +1 matchmaking for Tier 8? And bear in mind, it's not just Tier 8. Tier 5 can be very brutal as well. I've grinded past Tier 8. I have no need to play it now, save for ranked gameplay and new ship lines. In fact, while I once enjoyed playing ships like Bismarck, I rarely load up in a Tier 8 ship anymore. I'd rather take my chances at Tier 10, where I spend most of my time these days. I know many players are the same, and it's unfortunate. I love many of the ships at Tier 8. Some of the most fun premium ships are at Tier 8, but they just aren't fun against Tier 10 ships. So what do we do to fix it? Anyhow guys, I am interested to hear your thoughts. All the best luck in the world to you, especially if you're playing Tier 8 ships, and I will catch you all later. Take care, I am out.
Ship is on fire.